What's going on, everyone? Today I will be reviewing a mouse that actually just came out today, the newly updated popular Ergo mouse from Lamzu, the Thorn V2. Huge shout out to Lamzu and their international marketing manager Tunes for sending this out to me early to get a review in on release day. It's been a long time since I've used an Ergo mouse, so I was super excited to give one another shot. The original Lamzu Thorn was one of the most popular Ergo mice on the market, from the original release to the collaboration with Fnatic. It had a lightweight frame, a 3395 sensor, and 4K polling, so it makes sense why people loved it so much. Now, the mouse has improved in almost every way with the new release, so I'm sure it will be just as, if not even more popular. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the specs of the mouse, and then at the pros and cons of the mouse, and of course I will give it a rating at the end. So taking a look at the stat sheet of the V2, it has an improved sensor in the Paw Next 1, a special flagship PixArt sensor made in collaboration with Lamzu and PixArt, likely comparable to the 3955. On the stat sheet, it says that it weighs 55 grams, and my unit comes in at 54.6, so they are very accurate in that rating. It now has 8K polling and dual Nordic 54H20 MCUs in the mouse and in the dongle. It also has an improved antenna in the dongle, which should minimize the interference you get if you are someone who plays in LAN tournaments. The clicks are Kale opticals with an amazing implementation, which I will talk about later. So let's go ahead and look at the pros of the mouse, and there are plenty. The coating, the build quality, the clicks and the side buttons, and then the stock skates are all incredible on this mouse. The coating and build quality are things that I didn't really pay attention to at first when using the mouse, but really that was because they were so great. When I first pick up a mouse, if I do notice anything about the coating or the build quality, it's usually because it is not good. But with this one, it just felt very natural. And that's how mice should be. They should just feel great in hand. They don't slip. You don't feel any creaking or anything like that. So really unnoticeable. Coating works well with both sweaty and dry hands, as my hands do get somewhat sweaty when playing. And the mouse feels very well made as well. I can squeeze it quite hard and I don't feel much flex at all, so you can be confident that this mouse will hold up well during heavy use. The weight balancing is also nice, as it's slightly front heavy, but it's well balanced compared to where I put my fingers when using the mouse, which I think is where most people are going to place their fingers when using the mouse in general. Moving on to the clicks, they are absolutely stellar on the Thorn V2, some of the best that I have tried in recent memory. The Kale opticals are crisp, but they're on the lighter side and have little to no post or pre-travel. Usually I gravitate toward heavier switches as they feel tighter, but these seem to be in the perfect middle ground where they are very light, but they are still very tight and very well made. The side buttons are probably the best that I've ever used, which is very high praise, I know, but they are just unlike almost any other side button that I have used. They feel like high-quality main clicks with very little squishiness or post-travel. Almost every other mouse has lower quality side buttons compared to the main clicks, which makes sense because they aren't as important for gameplay as the main clicks. But that doesn't mean that they should be completely ignored, and these were not. They feel very, very good, and like I said, probably the best that I've ever used. Finally, for the pros, the stock skates are pretty nice too on the Thorn V2. They are padded dual-layer PTFE skates. They feel very fast and smooth and are great skates to use on a cloth pad. I personally use this mouse a little bit more on glass during testing than I did on cloth, but I do think that they would probably be a little bit more suited for cloth than they would be for glass. That doesn't mean that they aren't great for glass, it's just that I think they're a little bit better for cloth. I also want to point out that I really like the skate design on this mouse. I prefer a smaller surface area on these skates as opposed to the full-size ones that we see on a lot of mice today, so I do appreciate the four-corner design that they went with. I love you, Frankie, but I'm going to have to put you down real quick. Oh. Pardon the interruption, but moving on to the cons, there aren't too many, but one of the big ones is the shape for fingertip grip, and then other more minor ones are the scroll wheel and the shape and size of the dongle, which I know is kind of weird, but I'll explain later. So like I said earlier, I'm not a consistent Ergo user because I use fingertip grip and prefer more boxy symmetrical mice, so it's no surprise that I don't love this shape for fingertip grip. That being said, however, this is probably the most comfortable I've been on an Ergo mouse yet. Usually I notice right away that my aim feels very off and it's very hard to get used to, but the Thorn did not feel that way and I was still frying with it. I have 19 by 10 centimeter hands, and if you are someone who prefers Ergo mice and does also run fingertip grip, then I think this could be a really good option for you. Paired with the weight and the way that the clicks are made, it definitely felt better than other Ergo mice that I've tried. Still though, I probably wouldn't choose this shape compared to the others in my collection, but that's just my personal preference. Another more minor con is the scroll wheel. It is not the best. There is very little travel when you click it down and it doesn't give much feedback. Again, it's not the biggest deal breaker, but I still did notice it during my gameplay. Lastly, I know it's a very weird complaint, but I just don't love the dongle shape and size. It feels a little clunky and just kind of looks a little bit weird on my desk. It's super minor and doesn't really mean anything, honestly, but I just wanted to talk about it because it did bother me slightly. I personally think with dongles in modern mice, you should go with something either a little bit more sleek like this ATK dongle, or just go big and do something like WL Mouse and have a screen and a little cat that makes emotes and stuff. Again, it really doesn't mean anything, but I'll just go ahead and get off my soapbox about that. All in all, I am really impressed by this mouse, so much more than I thought I would be for an Ergo. You can really tell that the quality is there for this mouse in so many different aspects. I do wish I had tried the Thorn V1 so I could compare it, but regardless, this mouse is definitely a great one. Really, just the quality of the clicks and the side buttons are insane and incredibly impressive to me, so I really enjoyed using it. That being said, for a rating, I feel like I just have to give it a 3.5 out of 5, just because of the shape and my personal preferences. Again, I personally wouldn't pick this over many other mice in my arsenal, but if you are someone who likes Ergo mice, then I really think that this could be the one. It checks all the boxes in terms of specs, and then of course, it feels great, as I said, with the amazing coding and the insanely good clicks and side buttons. So if you're an Ergo lover, then definitely pick this one up if you are interested. Anyways, that's going to do it for my review of the Thorn V2. Again, huge shout out to Lamzu for sending this out early. The mouse is actually out today and available on Lamzu's website. I'll leave a link in the description. It is not affiliate. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe because I have a lot of mice that I still need to review, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.